Okay, we are here with Eva, Night Stalker expert, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's get into it. I have my own Night Stalker experience since I grew up in Southern California during that time, but I'll get to that. Let's get into his background.
Alright, so Ricardo Ramirez, also known as Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, he was born on February 29th, 1960 in El Paso, Texas. He is the youngest of five in a Mexican household, and that's really all when he was young. But when he was 10, he started getting into drugs because his family was also like smoking weed, and whenever he hung out with his cousins, and he was always around that like atmosphere
Right.
that's just been traumatic.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up like that too,
Mhm.
but I didn't become a serial killer.
Oh.
Is there anything else? Just drug use?
There's
Any physical or
he was pretty much abused almost his whole life, I think. That's what I've heard.
sexually or just physically, mentally?
All of the above.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, any issues with the law as a juvenile that you found?
But I found he has had some past crimes, like stealing a car. That's when he was first imprisoned. And
How old was he then? You know,
actually, I am not sure. It did not.
but he did steal a car.
Yes, he did steal a car. His first job at a hotel, Holiday Inn, he went into the rooms and started stealing and just looking around with the key that they use to open up all for like housekeeping
Right.
and things like that. And at one of those points, he did break in and attempted to murder a woman that was in one of those rooms. But he didn't get to because her husband did come in time and beat him up to bloodshot.
So this is like the
Yeah.
at the beginnings. 'Cause that's kind of what he does, right? He breaks into people's houses at night. That's why
Yeah.
they call him the Night Stalker, right?
Yeah.
All right. Anything else from the background, the pre kind of first murder? That's it.
Actually, so when he was 12, his cousin showed him like a bunch of Vietnamese women that he's raped and tortured and murdered in his past. And when
The person who did those things,
was his cousin? Yeah.
his cousin did those things.
Yeah.
And showed
when
him
he was-
pictures.
Yeah, and showed him a lot of pictures of those.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when he was 13, he watched his cousin kill his own girlfriend. And that's what triggered him into like wanting to start killing.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else from the childhood?
And he dropped out of high school and moved to Los Angeles. And
Oh, so
Yeah.
drugs, not kind of raised by the right parents,
Mhm.
drops out of high school. Well, we see a pattern, right?
Yeah.
We see a pattern, not just with him, but with a lot of these serial killers. Not all of them, but there is a pattern.
A past trauma that's
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. Minus Ted Bundy, he's kind of the anomaly. But, all right, so he moves to Los Angeles.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
So that's when he committed his first crime. Like his
Okay.
first murder, which was in June of 1984 on a 79-year-old woman.
Where was this?
This was,
Southern California?
yeah.
Yeah, so June of 84.
Yes.
So June of 84, I was 8 years old, almost 9. right?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to get into my story real quick before you go on. So he's going to murder several people, right? What's the total number? Just
It was 13.
13.
Yeah.
And so I can't remember when, after how many, but they kind of figured out we might have a serial killer here,
Yeah.
And I mean, I was 8, 9, 10, I think. In that age, around 9 years old, when this stuff was coming out of the news. And I remember hearing about it and like making sure that the windows were locked and like being afraid. I remember being afraid of the Night Stalker coming through my window and murdering me.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because you don't usually get that. You don't have, we have a serial killer on the loose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's usually like, oh, we found out that this person was a serial killer and we caught him. Just like in Las Vegas, we think that there was a serial killer. I don't know if you watched the news, but I think it was yesterday. They're saying that their DNA evidence, they tied these 2 murders to this one guy. He was already dead. He died in 1993, I believe. But it was like 70s, early 80s. And so like, we're finding out that we had a serial killer in Las Vegas, but we didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. Like you have a murder, and if you can't tie them together, if they're not using the same MO, right, modus operandi, if they're not doing the same thing, oh, we got this woman who's strangled here. 2 months later, this woman strangled here. Oh, you have to connect them because sometimes they get you get different detectives on those cases, and so if they don't communicate with each other,
They're not going to know.
they're not going to figure out that it was a serial that these are connected. And I think that happens a lot, But with this, I think his MO was pretty much the same. I mean, he snuck into people's houses.
Yeah.
Stole
a lot of their cars as well.
He committed burglaries basically and ended up killing people.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the first one. If you want to talk about the first one.
Well, she was decapitated.
He
She
cut her
was
head
almost
off?
decapitated.
Almost?
Yeah.
So he stabbed.
Yeah.
He was a stabber?
Yeah. Almost every single one of them, he's either hit or stabbed all of them.
Which is very, like, you have some killers like the Son of Sam who, like, just walks up and shoots people in a car, which is real sissy, right?
Yeah.
This is, like, still sissy because he's breaking in and he's, I talk about this all the time, the serial killers, we think of them as these monsters and then they're obviously,
Yeah. Something's wrong with
their head. But they're still, they're not, like I talked with last podcast, they're not, here's a knife, I got a knife, let's go,
Yeah.
That would be, a fair fight. But, so they sneak up on you at night or whatever. But to stab somebody, I don't know if you ever thought about it. Ever thought about stabbing anybody, at least in your head?
Well, I think everyone has.
Yeah, of course. Like, what would it feel like? Could you get that knife and stab somebody?
Yeah.
99% of the people would say no. I can't.
But that's kind of a lot of people can do that, which is kind
I
of.
mean, we all can, but
we don't. Our
can-
brains
can
just can't.
we
do it.
physically would we be upset? It always reminds me of the movie Strangers. You seen The Strangers? Where the 2 girls and the guy, and they got the one guy has like the burlap sack on for a scary mask, and the girls have like I think it's like animal masks.
Oh yeah.
Remember? And then they break into that farmhouse with the couple and they terrorize them.
Yeah.
And then in the morning they're like tied to a chair, and the one girl is kind of hesitant, and she ends up stabbing. I can't remember if it's a guy or the girl or both. And then I think they're like driving away at the end, and he's like, "Don't worry, it gets easier," right? Which is kind of
It's
true.
true,
It's
yeah.
kind of true.
Once you do it-
with all the killers that I've watched interviews on, the first one's usually messy. You talk about Ed Kemper. The first one's usually messy, or it doesn't
You
work
don't
out.
really know what to
Like
do.
Richard Ramirez, he tried it in El Paso, right? He
Yeah.
said it. So the first one is usually like chaotic, and a lot of people get caught on the first one because it is,
Yeah.
they've perfected, if you want to say that, right? Their way of killing. But no, like stabbing is a very intimate way to kill somebody and to bludgeon them instead of just shooting them. Strangling the same way, you see a lot of strangulations. But stab, that means there's blood everywhere. You can get blood on your clothes. That's why a lot of serial killers just strangle, because it's hard to get any evidence from that unless they can match up their hands. And some will just use ligatures, ropes, whatever. But blood, you get blood on you. It's evidence that you can use later. But
And it's kind of hard to wash off blood sometimes, especially if it's been a while.
yeah, especially
Dried
with all the technology we have with the luminol, spray. They can spray out stuff. You clean it, and they still spray that stuff, and it's still there.
Yeah, even
But-
just a piece of clothing, they can already sense that there's blood in it.
All right, so first killing was an older lady.
It was an older lady,
Sneaks
and
in and stabs her
also
and steals.
there was also in like the same period of time a 9-year-old who he raped and stabbed to death.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah,
rape.
he took her to the basement and raped her for a bit.
Is that the second one?
Yeah, that was the
Okay.
second one, but it was so close by that it was kind of the same
Yeah.
area. Yeah, and she got stabbed to death. Sadly.
Do we know? Is that when they connected? Did they connect those?
No, they
No,
didn't.
they didn't.
They thought it was two different people.
Okay. Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
Especially if there's a rape now and it's a younger person. So
Yeah.
like, okay, we had an older person here. Yeah, they're both stabbed.
Because they're not the same
Right.
thing. It's
Right.
just different scenarios.
That's why some serial killers will mix it up.
Yeah.
They'll shoot or they'll strangle here and they'll stab here and it'll be an old person, it'll be a young person, it'll be a minority, it'll be a white person, it'll be male, female. Let's try to mix it up. Some of them have a type.
Yeah.
Ed Kemper liked college girls.
Yeah.
Green River Killer, Ridgway liked prostitutes. So they do get in that area. All right, next one.
Alright, so here's a pretty interesting one. It was in the 85.
Okay.
It was I don't know how to pronounce it. It's the Whiter murders?
Let me see. Oh, Whittier.
Whittier.
That's actually,
Interesting one.
I lived in Whittier around that time.
Yeah.
A little before. But yeah, Whittier is a city outside of Los Angeles,
Yeah.
in Southern California. Right.
So he shoots in that one. So he actually has a gun
Right.
and he shoots Vincent. He is 64 and
Does he sneak into the house?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he shoots him in the head while he's asleep. And Vincent's wife, Maxine, she wakes up from the gunshots, and once Ramirez finds that out, he beats her and then searches the room for like items he can steal and grab.
Right.
These
were most of these were burglary.
Most
Murders
of
that ended in burglary.
Yeah.
Right.
So he did like bind her up and like try to keep her quiet while she's still alive.
Yeah.
And he's just beating her and stealing.
Okay.
But she escapes it and grabs the gun but unfortunately the gun wasn't loaded, and so Ramirez shot her 3 times and then stabbed her.
So she got the gun,
Hmm.
but she didn't fire it.
No, it was unloaded.
It was unloaded.
Yeah.
He took the gun from her and then reloaded it.
Actually, I'm not sure about
Okay.
that. But
Anyway, he killed her.
yeah, he killed her. He took her eyes out.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeesh. All right.
And then puts them in a jewelry box and just leaves.
Definitely psychotic behavior.
Oh yeah.
Has nothing to do with your childhood, I don't think, when you're
Nothing.
doing stuff like that.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting way of
Right.
killing someone. But after that,
Have they tied them now together?
yes,
They have.
because he did leave footprints and bullets in the scene, and those matched.
Casings, yeah.
Yeah, those matched to his previous.
So they matched up
Attacks.
footprints and casings, shell casings,
Yeah.
bullets, probably. Well, so he had shot people before.
Yeah. He has by that point.
Okay. So they can match the bullets. Yeah, the same
They
guy.
match,
So now we have a possible serial killer. This was 85.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was 9 years old. Yeah, that's about when it happened.
Yeah.
All right.
So alongside with the killings, most of the serial killers sometimes don't kill their victims, and
Right.
some of them survive. And so another one from the 85,
Right.
it was August, he breaks into another house, Peterson's home, and he shoots I forgot her name, Virginia. She was shot in the face by him, and then he also shoots Chris in the neck and tries to run away from the scene. But Chris isn't dead yet. He fights Ramirez, but he still manages to escape.
Okay.
And apparently both couple survived
Okay.
that. So even though she was shot in the face, she still survived.
It happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're both alive. I'm not sure if they're alive now. I don't know what happened
So
to
now-
them after.
But they have, this is where we get the drawing,
Yeah.
right? Because we get a composite, correct?
Yeah.
And so we get a drawing of him. I remember from the papers, I can sort of see it. So now we know for sure. There's a killer out there. This is, like I said, when we started hearing about it, and I was like, he's gonna come through my window and kill me. Like, because that was the fear. There's so many houses in Southern California, and anywhere in California, even Northern California, and so it was real. It was a real. It was a real fear for people,
Mhm.
at least for me. I was 9 years old. When you're 9, you're like the Night Stalker. Again, along. We talked about the Black Dahlia murders in the first episode. The Night Stalker. They have to come up with this cool name. It's kind of scary.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Night Stalker.
Like,
So
it's just gonna come through your house and kill you.
So, all right, let's move to when he gets caught. How does he get caught?
So first, he did get identified.
Right.
So it was August 25th, 1985, when he got identified. He was outside of a house, and this 13-year-old, James, he wakes up his parents, and the moment they turn on the lights, Richard, he runs away. But But the family did manage to see the color and of his cars and the license plate number.
Right.
And then after that, he breaks into another home and shoots two other people, and said that they had to swear that they love Satan because he was a big Satanist back then.
Right. There's a picture of him when he's in the court
Yeah.
with a pentagram on his hand,
Yeah.
carved in there.
And after raping the woman, he tells her to tell them that the Night Stalker was there. So he kind of made himself kind of known because of that. And she was still alive after he left. So she gives the description of him, and they were able to find and identify the car with the mirrors and the description that the woman gave the police. And so they find the stolen car in Los Angeles, and there was a fingerprint on the mirror that matches Ramirez. And since he was in prison because of a stolen car in the beginning,
He's got his fingerprints in the
he got
database.
yeah. And that's when they got him, and I think it was on the news, they're like, we know who you are, and soon everyone else will. And they released the mugshots of him from the 84s.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have here, I'm looking at a map
Mm-hmm.
of his victims, and it's all kind of north and eastern part of Los Angeles, Whittier, Monterey Park, Glendale, Burbank, Arcadia, Monrovia, Diamond Bar. And he's got 15 victims. Not all of them were killed, but 15 victims in like 14 months.
Yeah.
Like that's one a month, basically. You got June 84, March 8, he kind of has his first one, then it'll go March 85. So 14 of these 15 within 8 months.
Yeah.
No, more than that. Because you got March 17th, there's two on March 17th, then March 27th, then
Yeah, because he tends to.
May 14th, May 30th, June 1st, June 2nd, June 1st, July 2nd, July 5th, July 7th, July 7th, July 20th, August 8th, August 24th. So, and they're not too random. I mean, it's all in pretty much
The same area.
the same area. There's one down in Orange County, Mission Viejo. But that was the last one, I believe. Bill Carnes, now 56, shot 3 times in the head. He survived. But it's easier to connect these crimes when they're happening in such a small area.
Yeah.
You still have to connect them, but they're all happening so close together in time.
Yeah.
Like if I murder somebody and then, in Los Angeles, and then 5 years later, I murder somebody in Fresno, the chances of them connecting those two,
It's
good
so
luck,
fun. Yeah.
right? Unless I leave a mark,
Yeah.
like I put a circle on their forehead in both of them.
I don't understand those
But
kinds
even
of killers.
But even if I did that, how would Fresno know
That's the same person.
that LA has a case with his, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That should
So-
be somewhere else.
It's, if you look at, when we look at these serial killers, we also want to see like the mistakes they made.
Yeah.
Not that we would, this is how the perfect serial killer would be. But I mean, it's kind of, we look at that,
Yeah.
what were the mistakes made? If you're going to get away with murder. He did too much of the same thing, too much in a short time period.
It's a repeated thing. Steal
in
a
the-
car,
in the area,
break
right.
in, rape the woman.
Once you get those
Yeah.
those things that are similar, not all of them, but some of them, the MO, then you can connect those things. And I think we have a serial killer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, so he gets arrested.
Yeah. So he got caught in Tucson, Arizona.
Tucson?
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Let me see. Let me make sure. Yeah, Tucson.
Okay.
The C is silent.
So he got he went to go take a bus to visit his brother, and he goes to California the next morning with all of his mugshots all over the newspaper. And he notices that, so he tries to steal a woman's vehicle, but a lot of bystanders saw him and started chasing after him. And one of the bystanders hit Ramirez in the head when he got to him and pinned him down until the
So citizen's
arrived.
arrest.
Yeah.
And then the police captured him.
Yeah.
And they had to extradite him,
Yeah.
to use a fancy criminal justice word, right? They had to extradite him. They had to send him back to California
Yeah.
to be tried.
Yeah.
So he gets convicted, obviously,
Of course. Yeah.
of all the murders,
No, because they still haven't connected all of the murders
Okay.
to him.
but he gets
But he gets convicted to most of them.
okay, and he gets death penalty,
Yeah. He gets death
or
penalty.
no, they didn't have it at the time, right?
Yeah. No, he
Or
was
they
on
did.
death
They
row.
did.
Yeah.
He was on death row.
He was on death row.
Okay, California goes back and forth.
Yeah.
So he was on death row,
He was on death row.
and is that how he died?
No.
No.
No, he was on death row for 23 years. And he did die on
In
June
prison,
7th, 2013, but not because of a death row, but
right?
because of secondary to B cell
Lymphoma,
yeah,
cancer,
Yeah,
basically. Yeah.
that's how he died.
See, those are the people that should get cancer. Serial killers, not like.
Or innocent children.
Yeah, although not to get off topic, but I saw Nick Cannon, the actor
Yeah.
guy. He just lost his 5-month-old to like a brain tumor.
Yeah.
Like, they should have gave Richard Ramirez a brain tumor when he was 5 months old.
No.
No offense, but
Or maybe a
there'd
better
be
family.
15 people alive, and whatever, not hurt.
Yeah.
So yeah, 23 years. He doesn't get death. California has death penalty. They didn't have it. They had it. They got rid of it, and they brought it back, but they don't really use it. And so it's no surprise. 23 years. I mean, Charles Manson died in prison. Even though he wasn't, that big a deal. We'll get to that later. But yeah, I mean, definitely one of the most famous mass murders, serial killers in American history. Not based on numbers. I think some people are like, oh, he killed 50, he killed 200. It's more of the terrorizing. And I don't know if I'm biased because I was alive during that time.
Yeah.
It was very frightening for people,
Definitely.
knowing that it's out there.
Yeah.
But what he did, I think puts him close to the top. Now, I don't know if the Satanist thing was legit, or is he trying to get, a not guilty by insanity? Is he trying to get an insanity plea? Whatever, Satanist, sure, whatever. He can use that as his rationale. I mean, I think his motive seems like it was a combination of burglary, like money, and just being a psycho, just wanting to kill people.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a Satanist part.
Because there wasn't much to like his motives. He just did it.
Yeah. I mean, there's not. Motive
much.
Of stealing, obviously.
Well, yeah.
Did he have a job?
No, he didn't.
You know what I mean? So he's obviously burglarizing to survive, and maybe it's just easier to kill people. It's easier to go in, I guess, and kill people, and then now I can rob them because they're dead. Instead of like waiting till they leave, or it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna go in, kill them, and then I'll take what I want. So it could have been as simple as that.
Could have been, but
Yeah, I mean, but he's gonna obviously have, I think he's gonna have this legacy that he has, mainly because of the name. You know, the media coming up with the Night Stalker and that kind of,
yeah.
you know, when you hear the Night Stalker, you think of Richard Ramirez.
Yeah.
You know, if you know anything about it. But anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's
No,
all.
no, that was a good job. I appreciate you and all the work that you put into that. And until next time,